Okay, let's go ahead and start this. Uh, Now, you don't need to do these questions in order. That's one thing, is that if you don't know how to do the graph, it's not that you need the graph to do 3 and 4. So sometimes when we're grading these, we see some people, like, they make their table and then they mess up on the graph and they kind of know it's not right. I see all these erase marks and they don't even bother trying 3 and 4. So they're not necessarily chronological. You could easily do the graph as the very last thing and still answer all these questions, 3 and 4 and 5, without a graph. So, but the table is kind of important. So let's just go back to the top. Just remember that for these, you're probably going to be graphing everything in the slope-intercept form. All right, y equals mx plus b. So you're looking for two numbers, right? The slope and the y-intercept. So if you can really identify by reading this which ones are the slope, which ones are the y-intercept, that will be a huge benefit. Okay. So on number 1, it's just a flat fee. So it helps to understand what that means. That before you even start on number 1, Repair Shop 1, you owe them $240. But flat fee means it doesn't go up or down. It stays that. You could also call it a fixed fee because it does not change. It's always the same amount. So if it takes an hour to fix, right, it costs that much. If it takes 2 hours, it costs that much, and so on. If it took 30 minutes, it costs $240. If it took 15 seconds, it costs $240. So it's a flat fee. And you might even hear on commercials like, we charge a flat fee of this just to, look at your problem to try to figure it out. It might take them 5 minutes to fix, but they'll charge you $100 whether it takes 5 minutes or it takes an hour and a half. Okay, so no matter what, does not change. Fee is always the same. Whereas Repair Shop 2, it starts at $120, and it costs $30. Goes up by $30 every hour. So we'll go to 150. We'll go to 180. And at some point, right now, Repair Shop 2, as you can see, is cheaper. It's $240 for 1 hour. Here on number 1, it's only $150 for 1 hour on number 2. So if you can estimate, well, it's only going to take about an hour to fix, you definitely go Repair Shop 2. But at some point, since number 1's not moving up and number 2 is, it's going to overlap. It's going to get bigger. As you can see, right when you get to the 4th hour, by going up 30 at a time, this is now the same, right? But once you go to the 5th hour, Repair Shop 2 is more expensive. And that's what this whole problem is all about, is which one's cheaper, which one's more expensive. Repair Shop 1 still hasn't changed. And now, as mentioned, we could write these equations right now. We can write the slope, we can write the y-intercept. It was like number 1. We could write the slope to be 0 because we're not going up at all. Right here, we could write the slope as 30. We're going up by $30 per hour. Right, and I'm getting that from here. $30 per hour for number 2. And the fact that it's a flat fee, that's how I know the slope equals 0. Flat fee or fixed rate equals 0. So you can see I can get that without the graph. Same thing with the y-intercepts. I could fill those out right away. $240 actually for this one. And I want 20 for this one. Okay. Now, from the question, when I ask you what does the y-intercept mean, right? Well, you can get it from the question. What does $240 mean? Oh, that's a flat fee. And you can just fill that in. Same thing with the slope. What does the slope of 0 mean? It means that you're not charged any more money per hour. It's the same. You don't go up in cost every hour. It stays at 0. You can think of it as adding $0 more to your bill every month, every hour. Same thing here. What does $30 mean? Well, if you go up here, well, $30 means $30 per hour that the cost goes up. Okay? So you can fill out what the two C's mean. But yeah, just being able to figure out which one's the slope, which one's the y-intercept is a huge part of these problems. Understanding that slope is something changing, something moving, will make a difference. Okay? And we can make our equations. Remember, it's y equals mx plus b. So we could write it 0x plus 240, but we really don't need to write 0x. We could just put y equals 240. Down here, there's our slope of y-intercept. Ready? All right. And anything else? Okay. So let's do the graph. Now we already know where they're going to intersect, and that's at 4. So sometimes it's hard to make sure the intersection gets on the graph, but we know it's going to be at 4. The really hardest thing here is making sure we label everything correctly and we do the scale right. So we need to get up to 240 on our graph. Starting at 0, right, we have to get up to 240. Now, each of these squares has to be the same amount. You can't just say, okay, this one's 130 and this one's 150. That doesn't make sense because if you're finding slope, well, if you go up and over, how much is each square? Is each square 130 or is each square 20 or how much is each square? So when you're doing your scale, each square has to be the same amount. So, and you have, let's see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 squares to get up to 240 basically. So you have to figure out what should you count by in order to get there. Okay. So maybe count by 30s, try that out. Since the slope is 30 of one of them, maybe this will fit. Looks like it will. 210. $300, $330. Okay. There we go. There's everything. And now we can actually plot this. The 240, the first one, is going to be pretty straightforward because they're all 240, right? So we already know that's a 0 slope. But here we're going to start at 120, go up 30. So there's your y-intercept. There we go, and it goes up 30 for each hour. Okay. So is this complete right here? No, it's not. So if you look at the key, what's missing that I haven't put on here? Something key. Labels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 what? Hours. So you write that in. 330 what? Dollars. So just for that is 2 points. Just for putting the units and the labels. So don't forget the small things. Okay. And down below we can fill out the final 2 questions. After how many hours of labor it take for both charge the same? So after 4 hours, helps you can spell after 4 hours. Okay. After, or okay, at 4 hours, probably. Good point. At 4 hours. They charge the same. Okay, so when is Repair Shop 1 a better deal? So Repair Shop 1 is right here. So this is cheaper, this is cheaper, this is cheaper, this is cheaper. Here is where their cost the same, but then after 4 hours, that's when 240 is cheaper than 270. So Repair Shop 1 is cheaper after 4 hours. Yeah. So any big, difficult job that takes a long time. All right. Okay, so again, you just need to put in, I didn't put the wording in here because I want you to use your own wording, not just copy it down. So explaining what these mean, just use the description up here. 30 means $30 per hour and so on. Okay? All right, so that should give you a good start